Today in history, in 1962, a laser beam is successfully bounced off the moon for the first time, which means we might have done it a second time at one point. Good for us.
Welcome to What the Fuck History, where we discuss the wackiest and weirdest things that make us say, well, what the fuck history. I am your customer service representative, Zachary, and if you make a purchase over $50 today, it comes with a free 4-ounce bottle of lube.
Wow, what a bargain. My name's Meghan, and I bounced the second laser beam off the moon. It was me the whole time.
And I'm Matt. Today I learned that libraries make you poop.
Oh, yeah, it's that Japanese phenomenon, right? When you go into the bookstore, you have like the urge to poop.
Sudden urge to shit.
It's a phenomenon known as the Marico Aoki phenomenon, which is named after Marico Aoki, who is the one who like wrote to an advice column and was like, "Dear diary." Never mind, it wasn't an advice column, it was a diary. Now I'm making things up
I was
as I
going
go.
to say, no, but just change it to Dear Abby.
Dear Abby, yeah. I'm pretty sure she actually wrote to like a doctor or asked a doctor or
as you should
something. But
things.
anyways, she was just like, sometimes when I go to the bookstore, it makes me want to shit. Why?
Okay.
Do you think it's like social anxiety?
So what's really interesting is because Zach did send me this fact this morning, and he was like, "Look it up, trust me." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So I looked it up. None of this has been proven by science, but it is like common enough that it was given a name, which was just like the name of the person who first brought it to the public's attention, apparently.
What a thing to like go down in history for.
But it's basically like a lot of people or many people think that the psychology behind it is just because it's like such a quiet space.
Yeah.
And I guess the psychology there is that like psychologically bathrooms are quiet spaces where you can just be alone with your thoughts and feelings.
Well, do you think like the other thing too is like I guess bookstores are relatively comforting. Like there aren't threats there.
Yeah.
I've certainly felt serene in a bookstore.
Yeah, I've never felt threatened in a Barnes and Noble.
You've never been like assaulted in a Barnes and Noble.
But that's the thing too, is like while I was reading about this, one of the things that it mentioned was like sometimes people feel the need to like take a shit when they're outdoors. And I was like, yeah, that's just called hiking, my guy.
It's called this physical exertion is really working it.
Like I've literally gone hiking and been like, I need to find a tree, please.
Yeah, those are really rare though. When you're hiking.
Well, me hiking is really rare to begin with. So. All right, kiddos, a game of rock, paper, scissors has been played, and our strikes have been set to 0. The order for tonight is Zach, then Meghan, then me. So pick up your bingo cards and let's go hunting. I don't know why, but that's the thing that I wrote on my notes.
Can you imagine if bingo, like you were playing bingo while in the woods hunting, you're all up in the hides?
See, no, I'm thinking more of like
got a deer, that's a bingo!
I'm thinking more of like Big Buck Hunter, but with bingo involved.
Somehow.
I was imagining everyone up in the hides, and then all of a sudden it's like you hear B4 from like the distance.
I got bingo!
Could you imagine a fucking eldritch like a... So my ex told me a story once of her, like, she was walking my dog. She was walking my dog in the woods, and she said that this guy just, like, ran across the path and was just, like, shouting. Just like, woo! As he went through the woods. And I was like, yeah, that's just a woods person. That's just a thing that exists. So, like, imagine you're up in a blind hunting deer, and all of a sudden you just hear, B4! just out in the woods, and you're like, the woods people are playing bingo.
Yeah, that's just a normal thing they do every
just a
Sunday.
thing. This is Sunday night bingo with
The Woods
The
people.
Woods people.
Jeez.
So Zach, save us from ourselves.
Okay, I will. And now, folks at home, and Matt and Megan, I know you were thinking in my intro, well, why did I throw in the lube for free? Honestly, it's not a big item, but it's still important. Also, it has to do with my story. Yes, it is important. It does have to do with does have to do with my story, though.
If I'm gonna get lube for free, it better be important.
Absolutely. Rather, less of a story tonight and more of a historical tier listing that is absolutely going to get wet and wild. Matt,
I'm already wet.
are you wild, though? Are you?
Nah, no.
Well, get ready to be.
I think we just talked about the fact that I'm, like, not even at home hiking, so...
Fair enough. But I already sent you my tier listing without any context whatsoever, just images, and it just said, if you know, you know. Well,
for the listeners, just a little peek behind the curtain. What Zach actually said to us was, be afraid. And then he posted that picture in our group chat.
which we'll upload to social.
And we immediately... I think I immediately felt my heartbeat quicken at an... You know what? It might have
My
just been...
heartbeat it might have been a heart
It might have
attack.
just been the heart attack.
Okay, but
Anyway.
today, ya boy is doing what he does
boy.
best and getting down and dirty. Tonight, for your audio pleasure, I will be listing and rating history's best sex toys for you.
Oh, thank God.
I was literally...
All right, I'm ready. I'm getting out the tier
I
list.
had a terrible thought when you said for your audio pleasure.
Oh gosh.
For some reason, and this may speak to what I think of you as a person, or maybe it's just my own fucked up head, but for some reason when you said that, I was like, I'm gonna fuck your ear. I was like, that's something Zach would say for sure.
Well, get ready, listeners at home, for me to, with your consent, fuck your ears. Starting out with the more weird, we have something for the fellas in the room, or more specifically, to be used on the fellas. This piece has a contested origin, some believing it to have been started in the Jing and Song dynasties of China, while others say that it had certain beginnings in some Indonesian islands. This lovely device was simple yet effective. It was a cock ring.
Yes.
But more specifically, a cock ring made from the eyelid of a goat. Eyelashes and all.
Ew, you lost me at the eyelashes.
Oh, so this is the F then.
So not only does this...
In your graphic.
Yes, it is the F in my graph. So not only...
Now I'm super nervous about the bread picture.
You know, I thought when you put the goat,
Yeah?
I thought it was the goat itself. Like they were just using the goat as
You know,
the
I was
sex-
going to say the same thing. It's like, this is a sex toy for men. And I was like, are you about to tell me that men fuck goats?
The men who fucked
Well, I mean, they
goats.
did.
Is a practice still done today in some remote parts of the world?
Yes.
Do you mean some southern states?
That's
Yeah,
cheap.
goats and
Oh.
cousins.
Dude, I'm coming for him tonight,
Yeah.
all right? Any turn that we can make about the southern states and how backwards they are, I'm
Let's
ready
do it.
for him, dragging them.
I mean, earlier in the intro when we were talking about Barnes & Noble, I said I never would, be concerned about getting assaulted in a Barnes & Noble, and before I could say something, someone cut me off, and I was about to yell, "Don't ruin this for me, America."
Don't ruin this for me, America. Yeah, I was thinking about it too. I'm like, someone out there is going to be like, huh, you're right. There hasn't been a shooting at,
Barnes &
B&N
Noble.
lately.
Okay. Oof. Anyway. Oof. So yes.
Can you tell how angry we are just by the way that we talk about America?
Very. But, so this cock ring made from a goat's eyelid not only helped with the hardness of the man, but also had a little tickler for the woman involved, apparently, with the eyelashes.
I fucking hate this.
Wow, that's so nice. That's so
I want to
considerate.
walk away.
It's nice,
I'm
No,
gonna.
you can't.
and it's disgusting, and it's going into the
Yeah.
F tier.
Look
Yeah.
it in the eye.
Moving on rather
Face it.
quickly, please, for the love of
please
all
do.
fucking gods, quickly. We stay in China, but this time to the Ming Dynasty. Because if you don't know, well, China sucks on a personal level today. Historically, they were very exploratory of their bodies and sexuality.
Just like Anne Frank.
Oh no!
Oh my god. This belongs in What the Fuck
Listen,
After Dark.
This is an unknown thing that people have been trying to get out for years, but her diary was way raunchier than the book that we had to read during, like,
I
No,
know,
I
but we
know.
didn't have to
Studies in
discuss
school.
it.
Look, Zach, you went there. I just decided to up the ante.
Okay.
And frankly, I'm a little pissed that I'm getting this
And-
much.
And that's a strike.
Frankly,
I did not see
that's-
that coming.
All right, that's two.
I
God
can't
damn it.
believe it. I can't believe he's racking them up.
Swing and a
dude.
miss. Anyway, China, very explorative, very sexual, yada, yada, yada. My main point was they are the historical Adam and Eve or extreme restraints. Either way, one of them should sponsor us.
They should, yeah.
They should. This specific invention involved little balls made of copper or gold that were supposedly contained the sperm of the Burmese bird, a mythical and rare creature that could only be caught and subsequently despermed, or sperm harvested, as you will, from a fake woman made of straw. Yup, that's a thing.
Yes.
China folklore. Woo woo woo.
People also fucked the woman made of straw, let's be honest.
I mean, I didn't read into that, but probably. So, a man would take these copper and gold balls and insert them into his cock in order to make sex more pleasurable. Yeah, sounds painful, but still better than the goat's eye cock ring, so I'm putting it in the D tier.
No, I'll be
I
honest
guess.
with you. People still do this.
Yeah, but
Today.
I'm not one of them. And so I'm
no,
I'm
I
making
mean,
the
you're
tier
right.
list, so I'm deciding.
Zach's like, this is
Yeah, this
where
is-
we kink shame, and it's okay
This
because
is
it's for a podcast.
my
I'm not
tier
here
list.
to kink shame. I'm here to give my personal preference and recommendation.
He's like, I am the medical professional for your ride tonight.
I am the medical unprofessional for your ride tonight. Thank you.
Oh my god. This ride has not been approved by OSHA.
Or the Board of Health.
I don't think
that's
OSHA
true.
had anything to do with this.
The other culture that knew how to get down and dirty, obviously, was the Greeks. As we like to say, the olive oil wasn't just for cooking.
It certainly
true.
wasn't.
See recommendation, or see advert above for the free 4-ounce bottle of lube. Does not come in olive oil flavor. But I'm not going to talk about their obsession with blood, both human and animal, as sex aids, because that feels more gas station funny pill than sex toy, and either way I'm steering clear.
Wow, dude.
Okay, fair.
Today, I bring you from
Hey, it's okay. Sometimes my tongue gets stuck, too.
Yeah, well, I'm performing podcast cunnilingus tonight, so...
Wow. Wow.
Today, I bring you from Greece one for the ladies, or lads, I don't judge. And more than that, I bring you the sex toy of the people.
The sex toy of the people.
Yes, because Greeks fucked so much that they not only knew how to do it, they knew how to do it on a budget. Because the ladies of ancient Greece had some great ideas for dildos.
Man.
However,
They're so innovative.
they are so innovative. Bravo to them.
I know.
The only issue with Greek dildos is the fact that, silicone wasn't quite on the market yet.
That's true.
And-
That's a few years later.
A few years later. One of the breakthroughs that the scientists of Greece did not come up with.
I'd like to think as soon as silicone did come on the market, like for something completely different, a Greek woman looked at it and was like, finally.
I don't want to know the shenanigans that Diogenes would get up to with silicone suction cup dildos. That's all I have to say.
I'm so scared of
Yeah,
that.
right? That image,
thought.
that thought.
You have to imagine him just in his fucking
The
clay
barrel.
pot that he lived in. Just like being a completely useless sod. The story where Alexander the Great walks up on him and is like, hey, I'm looking for a teacher. He's just in the middle of pleasuring himself with a...
No.
And he's like, bro, now is not the time.
See, I was more imagining like he just goes into Plato's like lecture hall and just sticks them everywhere. Like,
behold,
you're a dick. Anyway,
I was thinking about the clay pot, and he sticks them all on the side, on the inside, and it becomes like an Iron Maiden.
a silicone maiden.
The silicone maiden.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Anyway.
I'm sorry, we keep interrupting.
That's
Zach.
fine. Silicone was not on the market. Who can afford an ivory schlong? So what do the people of Greece do? Why, they fashion a good old-fashioned breadstick dildo.
Wait,
Woo.
no.
Which was not only common practice, but common enough to make it into Greek plays.
Wow.
You know, was it in... I think it was in Greece, or was it in Italy, where they had to stamp bread with a stamp of authenticity because people would like...
They had to do it in England,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, they would fake the bread.
Fake bread.
Well, so yeah.
It would be fake bread.
The whole concept was that you would get allotted an amount of bread or an amount of, like, yeast or dough or whatever, and so you were allowed to use that much or that amount or whatever you were given to make bread.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were adding additives, if you were adding, like, sawdust to your bread, you had to stamp your bread so that people knew where it came from, so that they were like, ooh, this tastes like sawdust. People could fucking track down the person and beat them to death with their shoes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what the benefit of using bread as a dildo is, though? Especially if you're using olive oil as lube?
What?
You can just
What?
bite chunks out of it after.
It's some pussy focaccia.
I don't know, dude.
Pussy focaccia sounds like a terrible porn star name.
It is.
I just, like, don't like soggy bread.
Yeah, I get that. But this was like a hard baguette.
Yeah,
So it
I mean,
held
it was
its
just
virginity.
normal bread by the time that it was done.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm
Finally some good fucking food.
Finally.
I'm gonna
That's
put
such an applicable meme.
right. I'm gonna put this one in the B tier though for the inventiveness, but no higher for the fact that it seems pretty one use only.
Yeah, for sure.
And remember,
that's fair.
listeners at home, the Greeks say it's okay to play with your food.
Amen, brother. They do.
Yeah, amen,
I've
brother.
met one Greek person. I think he said that.
The joke was playing with your food as a sex act. Anyway.
I still think he said that.
An honorable mention before we continue is Catherine the Great's table, made in the shape of cocks and tits. Less of a toy and more of a memorable showpiece for your living room.
Yeah, I've got one in my living room.
Everyone should have one in their living room. I have one in my study, personally.
Yeah, I mean, when family comes over, I like people to be uncomfortable.
Exactly. But we're going to move forward to England, which normally we think of being the more prudish society, but King Edward VII liked to spend his time in Parisian bordellos more often than not. And more often than not, this practice included pleasuring more than one woman at once. He, in all of his genius...
A man of
A
talents.
man of many talents, yes. But he, in all of his genius, realized the magnitude of his efforts, and thus commissioned a special chair to be made, so that he could rest while he worked. For this brilliance and comfort, I am putting in the A tier, the modern-day the old-timey sex swing, rather, because we have modern-day sex swings, so why can't King Edward own a fuck lazy boy?
Goddamn right.
Honestly, that sounds so comfortable.
Yeah, right? I'm sorry. If I'm doing the dirty, I too would like to be able to recline perfectly.
He renamed
brother.
it the Lazy as Fuck Boy.
The lazy as fuck, boy.
Lazy as fuck, boy.
And finally, we come
The God tier.
the God tier. We
God
come
tier.
to the wondrous time of invention that is 1869. First off,
I guess.
nice.
Amen.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Second,
Oh
buddy.
my God. You want to know something fucking crazy?
yes.
My story also pertains to 1869.
Oh.
And that's not even something we planned.
Fuck yeah.
But I'm going to have
also...
to amend my notes now because I said there wasn't really much that happened in 1869, except now I'm going to add whatever this fucking sex toy is that Zach's talking about.
Yeah, minus the sex toy, nothing much happened.
Shit. Can I make a guess, though?
In a minute.
All right.
In my notes, I have a guessing section, so hold on.
Okay, good.
Hold
thank
your
God.
horses.
Consider my horses held.
1869, first off, nice. Second, we haven't given the
First off,
ladies
nice.
a lot of time to shine, so let's let them finish first for once. An American inventor, George Taylor, created something to help with women's hysteria, which we now know is bullshit and a misogynistic way to say, my wife's crazy, time to throw her in the loony bin, instead of having men learn the simple task of communicating their feelings.
It's impossible.
That's difficult.
It's downright impossible, yes.
Can't do it.
I
However,
don't like that.
this item was something that could be purchased for in-home use as well as, at the time, clinical use. And this device, drumroll please. I'll pause for guesses now, Matt.
A steam-powered fuck machine?
You're so close. You're so close.
Can I guess?
You can guess.
Can I guess? Is it the first electric vibrator?
You are both so close. If you combined your answers, you'd have it. Because it was the
steam-powered vibrator.
vibrator.
I can't believe it's steam powered. It seems dangerous when you add steam.
That's right. All the power of the
It's-
Industrial Revolution right between your legs, ladies.
I don't like that you did it in the announcer voice.
It was either the announcer voice or the old-timey voice, like all the power of the Industrial Revolution right between your legs.
I don't know what's
gentlemen,
making-
Step right up. Step right up.
And see the amazing vibrating steam-powered machine. Anyway,
Instead of steam-powered locomotives, this one is not that.
It's not that.
it's
but
not
it's
a
better.
locomotive,
It might
but
be
it'll
better.
sure drive you, lady loco.
Oh
Anyway.
my God.
Taylor originally
you
was
go.
concerned that women in the home might, quote-unquote, overuse this device, but honestly, that just sounds like a guy who sees this as an enemy and not as an ally, so fuck whatever he says.
It's true. You gotta look at it. You gotta work in tandem.
Work with it, buddy. Work with it.
Yeah, you gotta work with it, not against it.
I am personally going to put this device in the S tier for multiple reasons. One of them being the fact that a steampunk vibrator just sounds fucking amazing and fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I love that. Because like you have to hook it up to an engine.
No.
No. What do you mean?
It's-
How is it steam
I will
powered?
send you a picture of it after because I don't have one on me right now, but it's like,
Zach, I'm so scared.
it's much larger
Zach,
than,
what are you talking about? You keep a picture of the steam-powered vibrator in your fucking wallet.
that's my wallpaper. No.
Zach's like,
it's-
this is what I aspire to be.
Absolutely. I am the steam-powered vibrator. That's my wrestling name.
Water go
Oh.
in, steam-powered sex comes out.
It's like that. It's like that meme where it's like, have you considered that horses are just grass engines? Like, grass goes in, fast comes out.
Goes in, fast comes out.
But yeah,
That's
I will
Zach.
say, I'll send you the image, but it is much larger than a normal vibrator of today's standards. I guess it
I
depends
bet
on...
you it's loud as fuck, too.
I bet you everyone knows when you're using it. I'm just going
Like
into the room.
your fucking wife turns that on and someone down the street is like, oh, Ronnie's wife is
I was going to say, she's like,
turning on the machine again.
sorry, love, I'm just going to the other room to powder my nose. She's here.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Jeez, that was probably audio hell. Anyway.
Yeah, I think you peaked for me over
Oh,
here.
yeah. But there are a lot more historical sex toys that I did not
So
cover.
we'll have to bring this segment back.
I can bring this segment back. We, as a species, have often been fascinated by our sexuality and its place in our lives. And sex and sexuality comes in all kinds, all of which are valid and intriguing. Just remember to be safe with your practices, and when with a partner, that consent is always key. And no matter what, you respect the preferences of others. Respect, consent, understanding, and a little bit of curiosity go a long way.
I do just want to tack this on the end here of Zach's. I agree with all of Zach's things. Do not fuck goats.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't do that.
That consent portion that Zach mentioned cannot apply to animals because they are unable to provide consent.
I think when I said that all sexuality, all of which are valid and intriguing, there was a little asterisk that said, except the illegal shit like bestiality and pedophilia. That's fucked up.
Yeah,
don't do that.
That stuff's bad.
Yeah.
All bad things.
Implied
All bad
asterisk,
things.
but thank you for bringing it up.
Implied asterisk. But if we don't say it out loud, does it really exist?
True. But that's my
Meghan,
story.
do you want to tell us your story now?
Well, I thought that
not to rush Zach off the platform, but he has been talking for 26 minutes.
I like how you know it exactly because Audacity
I'm looking
says
directly
it.
at my Audacity.
I'm looking directly at how much I'm
direct-
turning this into the show all about sex toys tonight.
I wish we had done a whole sex toys episode.
Yeah.
50.
Episode
because
50, the one where we get nasty.
I really wish we had done that so we could get like a sex toys sponsor.
If we get a sex toy sponsor, we will do an entire episode about historical
We'll do
sex
an
toys.
entire episode.
A whole episode. That would be so good. So I don't want to detract from the sex toys. So I've named my story NFTs plus the clit equals orchids. And
Woo!
That is.
Okay.
That is.
I
a
think
step.
Yeah.
I think you get what I mean.
I don't get what you
Now,
mean,
I
but
certainly will in a bit.
I don't think I need to explain it.
I think you do.
I think that's the whole point.
I think my job here is done.
Imagine if
So-
all she did one night is say the title and then was like, all right, 3 strikes, I'm going.
I'm gonna go. I've said those 3 very controversial
I was
things.
gonna say
I have
it's
to be
just-
super careful or I won't even get to tell my story tonight.
I was gonna say, I
that
think
is
one episode we're just gonna have Megan introduce the title and then bleep it out for a hot minute after she says something, and then we're like, well, that's 3 strikes. We won't hear Megan's story. Live with that mystery.
Yeah. Like, I'm so sorry, guys. So I'm gonna make a bold assumption here and say that most people like flowers.
Yes.
If you suffer from allergies, I'm sorry.
I think people that suffer from allergies still like flowers. They just don't like what they do to them.
If you
That's
suffer
true.
from allergies, get a better immune system.
Or get a worse one.
like-
Your immune system's overreacting.
Yeah.
It's too good, I think, is really the problem.
Tell your immune system to fucking knock it off.
Yeah, do a worse job, like what capitalism forces most workers to do. I'm coming for America tonight. But I'm sure, like, even if you do have allergies, right? Like you guys said, you like flowers. But I don't think any of us love flowers as much as the Victorians. Now the Victorians, as we all know, were into some pretty weird, interesting, and if we're being perfectly honest, some fucked up shit.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, 1000%. As we have discussed on this show, they took pictures of dead babies and relatives to keep. Zach, you brought us that wonderful story.
Mm-hmm.
They had nipple piercings before it was cool. You also brought us that story.
Yeah.
And they liked, dare I say, loved ghosts. Honestly, the trifecta of punk. They also had a pretty big hard-on for orchids.
Okay.
So that's cool. For those of you who can't remember what an orchid looks like off the top of your head, it's whatever you picture the most elegant way of describing the clitoris is.
That's true.
It is true. It's pretty much an orchid. For those of you who are having trouble picturing either, there's no hope for you, and I'm sorry.
Or if you've never seen a clitoris before.
The real
free
clitoris
to
is
look
the
it up.
friends that we made along the way.
Oh, is it? Oh boy,
It
is
is.
it?
Is it? Is it now? So, orchid cultivation began in England in the 19th century. And orchid delirium, as it was called when they simped after these flowers too much, was a craze limited to the upper echelons of the Victorians, aka people with the dollar bills.
Fuck the bourgeoisie.
Book them, if you will. But they did have the dollar bills, which they used to finance expeditions for people to go and bring back increasingly rarer specimens of wherever orchids grow. I don't know. I'm assuming someplace hot and wet, just like the clit. These expeditions were costly, took months, and were dangerous. Many people died due to the usual mishaps of adventuring. Also, there was an amount of orchid hunter warfare, which included urinating on the plants collected by rivals and then stripping the habitat bare so they couldn't go back to reclaim a plant, which I think is eco-terrorism.
Yeah,
I don't...
absolutely, yeah.
I don't have the definition of eco-terrorism in front of me at the moment, but that sounds like it would fit the bill.
Captain Planet would be very mad.
But Captain Planet would be really mad. Or did Captain Planet go into... Or was what he did, was that eco-terrorism?
That was also... That was a different version of eco-terrorism, I think. Speaking of Captain Planet, though, have y'all seen the skit where Don Cheadle is Captain Planet?
Yes, it's glorious.
Oh, my God.
It's so fucking good.
Yeah, just picture Captain Planet crying a little bit, like
Captain
a tear.
Captain Planet, you gotta stop.
You gotta stop, Captain Planet. So the location of the orchids was also a guarded secret. Like, if you wanted to know where these things grew, you either had to find it yourself or perform like a Guantanamo level interrogation on an orchid hunter, because they weren't telling.
So much like people who often try but fail to find the clitoris.
It's true.
These orchid hunters just were not having a good time.
See, you went the opposite direction of me, because I was going to go, what do the orchids mean, Mason?
What do the orchids mean? So it wasn't unusual for collectors to spread misleading information about the location of new orchids, and they sent people on wild orchid chases. The orchids that were brought back were sold in London for heaps of money. Like I said, they were the NFTs of Victorian times, where people were like, where do they come from?
Where did they go?
Where did they go? What did they do? They're confusing.
Joe?
You said it before me. Damn you.
I set myself up for that joke.
You definitely did. But, like, much like NFTs, they were expensive, strange, and very misunderstood. I say the last part because despite everyone wanting orchids, no one knew how to fucking take care of them. They were also pretty hard to grow, even in temperate climates, and England is notably kind of chilly.
Yeah. I want to backtrack for a hot
those of you who've
second,
been there.
Megan.
Yeah.
Because I didn't get a chance to say it because I didn't want to cut you off. But you said they were hard to take care of.
They were.
Just like the clitoris. Anyway, continue.
That's true. It's so true. Everything about orchids can be brought back.
To the clitoris.
To the clitoris.
To the clitoris, yeah. So these rich people spent fortunes on flowers that ended up in hot as hell greenhouses with waterlogged roots, making the survival rate pretty dismal, which is like pretty sad considering all the effort that went into finding them and then destroying them.
Wow, dude, it's like a rich boy who fucking buys a girlfriend and then doesn't know what a clitoris is.
Can't take care of her.
No amount of money in the world can help you find the clitoris.
No amount of money can help you Google where it is, which is a free service.
Yeah.
It wasn't until 1851 when the first manual for growing orchids was published, and today, many orchids are still endangered due to these rich fucks and the smuggling that still happens, because it is still happening, for no fucking reason.
I have a coworker that has 2 orchids in her office.
I hear they're notoriously, like, hard to get to bloom again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've only seen them in bloom, like, one time.
Yeah, because, like, you can keep the plant alive, but, like, if it's not the specific set of conditions, like, you will not get the blooms. Just like a woman will not come if you don't hit her spot completely right. They're much like the clit.
And then you have, rappers like DMX when he was still alive. Rest in peace, DMX. There was like a video he did where he was like taking care of an entire greenhouse of orchids. And he was like, people think that they need a lot to survive, but they really just need some care and attention.
It's true.
I mean, like, they do. They just need a lot of care and attention. And, like, I think now it's a lot easier to keep orchids alive and, like, in bloom. But these people were like, man, we really love these flowers. What if we killed them?
Let's kill them all.
Let's kill them all.
It's like, it's one of those things where, like, I don't know, they're really pretty, but, like, you're smothering it. Like, let it breathe.
You're definitely...
If you love something, let it free.
I think the part about orchid delirium that really aggravated me was like the actual warfare that happened. Like they would just destroy the entire ecosystem.
Oh, you mean the eco-terrorism that we talked about
earlier? The eco-terrorism that we talked about. Yeah.
The stuff that would make Captain Planet cry.
Captain Planet's orchid eco-terrorism.
But that was my story. I thought it was kind of cute. It like I said at the beginning, it doesn't lean like either way. It's kind of interesting. But I guess, like, it is.
It was vaguely sexual, too, until we talked about it and made it really sexual.
Yeah, I'm sorry I get everyone fucking randy as hell with my story first.
Yeah, you really ramped us up.
You kind of, you did.
But hey, for any potential sponsors out there, if you want to advertise sex toys...
We're very open.
We're here for you.
Specifically for you.
For you.
But I think we should keep this tantric train rolling. Matt, what do you got for us?
My story is not sexy at all.
Well, womp womp. I guess no one comes now.
All right, partners. I've got a story that'll put a hitch in your giddy up, so slap on your spurs and get along, little doggies.
Okay, well...
I'm not going to take a strike for that, and I'm not going to apologize, so fuck off.
Don't apologize. I was just going to say, that is definitely someone's very specific kink you've unlocked, but continue.
Yeah. you found
I'm listening to one of my favorite podcasts. I hope it doesn't awaken something in me. Oh, God, no.
I hope it doesn't awaken something.
I will ask you guys to think back to the not-so-distant year of 1869.
Nice.
I can't believe it.
And we're going to be talking about a little place called Palisade, Nevada.
Okay.
Palisade.
So 1869 is likely important for various reasons, one of which was the steam-powered vibrator. But the biggest one is the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad. What'd you say, Megan?
I just think it's really funny that you're incorporating this new fact.
I did tell you that I was going to add it to my notes.
I know.
It's an important fact.
Just funny. It is an important fact.
As I mentioned, the biggest one is the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad, which allowed people to travel out west without dying of dysentery or having to ford rivers. That's an Oregon Trail reference for anyone who didn't know. So settlers already existed out west, and so did stories of skirmishes with Native Americans, robberies, and all that kind of, shenaniganry. And these stories were often the subject of Western dime novels, which, you guessed it, are novels that you could buy for a dime about the West.
Ooh.
And it added a little bit of a thrill to the thought of going out west. So how boring it must have been for people to travel by train past towns like Palisade, Nevada, and see a nice, peaceful community. Well, the residents of the town of Palisade heard word that train goers were bored. And the townsfolk were also bored because they lived in the middle of fucking nowhere, Nevada.
Everyone was bored.
Which led to the following. One day, while the train was passing by, a man by the name of Frank West walks out and hollers to a man by the name of Alvin Kittleby. And he says the following. "There you are, you low-down polecat. I've been waiting for you. I'm going to kill you because of what you did to my sister." and the two gentlemen proceeded to have a gunfight in the streets. But here's the kicker. It was fake. It was completely staged.
All blanks.
All blanks. Both of them are firing blanks. So if any of our listeners are in the New England area, sort of like more northern New England, like Maine and New Hampshire, you might know of a place called Clark's Trading Post. And if you're not from New England and you don't know what I'm talking about, it's fine. Shut up. I'm going to explain.
I was going to say, or just come
No, it's
visit,
fine.
because
Shut
Clark's
up.
Trading Post is great.
If you've been, come, hang out. Go to Clark's Trading Post. They have bears that do tricks. And the trick is not eating their trainers, but I'm pretty sure that's happened at least once.
They're wild animals, yeah.
Yeah, so essentially they have this thing where you ride like a train and you go through the woods and you get chased by a character known as the Wild Man, who's just in a fucking like beat up car and he shoots a fake gun at you. And like, if you're a kid, it's very scary because you don't know what's going on, but everyone else is having a great time. This is the equivalent of what the people of Palisade were doing to the train goers, because they were just fucking staging these events once a day as the train went by.
Oh my gosh, I'm living for this.
I
Yeah.
love this.
So
a lot.
once a day, the people of Palisade would go out and put a show on for people passing by on the train. But of course, the folks that are on the train don't know that it's a staged production.
Naturally.
And so they're getting scared and they're ducking behind their seats, but obviously peeking out the windows of the train to sort of see like what's going on in the town of Palisade. However, because of these antics, Palisade starts being labeled the most violent town west of Chicago.
Oh, okay.
And what's really fun about that is that as soon as the train is gone, Palisade goes back to being a very sleepy and calm town. But like once a day, it looks like the host of such raucous violence that no one would ever dare be there. To sort of explain the types of shenanigans they'd get up to, once daily, they would stage either street fights, kidnappings, raids by Native Americans, gunfights, bank robberies, pretty much anything else that you see in like a spaghetti western. They would stage very quickly. People were well aware that the trains were coming because back then it was, coal-powered or steam-powered, not steam-powered.
Coal-powered.
Those were just the vibrators. They were
We kept
coal-powered.
steam-powered for very specific things.
They were coal-powered engines, and so you could see the billowing smoke. So townspeople would literally take their places well before the train showed up, and then you'd have people like being dragged by the hair, women and children screaming. It would just be like, it would be a whole performance. It would be a whole thing. And for those of you that are listening closely, you might have noticed in there that I said that they staged raids by Native Americans. And in case you're wondering, the townsfolk of Palisade, Nevada, talked to the local tribe of Native Americans and asked them if they wouldn't mind pretending to fight for the entertainment of train goers. And surprisingly, instead of saying, "You'd like us to engage in the most vicious stereotypes your people have labeled us with for the amusement of other white people," they instead said, "Sure."
Sure.
So they
I guess way to be a good sport about it. But
yeah, great, thanks. So they had local Native Americans that were willing to engage in this. They also had the cavalry of their local branch of military that were willing to come out and do shows and shit. So it's just fucking... But they get this reputation of being the most violent place on Earth, essentially.
They went out and they polled everywhere else, and they
Yeah.
were like, "Hey, what do you got going on?"
Hey, what's going on over there?
It's also going to be this thing of notoriety where, if this is the only crazy thing you see on the train, someone's going to say something and then everyone's going to start looking out for it. And if you
Right.
don't stop, like if there's no stop in Palisades there, you're just all of a sudden zooming by this and going, what the fuck is up with this
What
town?
is happening?
Right.
Why is there always a massive
Why is
fight
there
every
so
time?
much crime?
Yeah, like everyone gets to their stop and it's like 6 trains later and you're talking with your family who was 2 train rides behind you and are like, did you see that? Was there something going on in Palisades? Yeah, there was something going on in Palisades. What the fuck is up with that town? It seems like something's always going up.
So, what's really interesting is that this leads to a boom in tourism.
Naturally, because I too
So
want to go to Chicago to get shot at.
Well, what I really
the
think,
only thing to do in Chicago.
I just think it's so funny, like the contrast. So obviously, there's not a stop in Palisade. Otherwise, people would have caught on very quickly that it was just an act. It would have been like the lei ceremony when you land in Hawaii and you're given a lei.
Yeah.
It would just be like everyone in town then bows and says, "Welcome to Palisade, Nevada." And it's just like, oh, it was a show. That's great. So people then wander into town and see that it's, just a sleepy little community. And while I was reading this story, I could not help but think of Letterkenny, and every time I said the word community to myself, I thought of Noah Dick
Yeah.
and saying community.
Gosh.
But anyways, it leads to a boom in tourism, but obviously that can only go so far. And for the better part of about 3 years, Palisade does continue with these productions, and eventually people kind of get wise to it that if a town was really as violent as this one, there wouldn't be anyone living in it. And so after about 3 years...
Wait.
Yeah.
I'd like to call bullshit on that because people still live in Detroit.
People still live in Detroit.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're right, but like, I'm just saying, if people are on the fucking train and they see the town getting raided by Native Americans in a time when that was like...
Literally every time they get on the
Yeah.
train, they're like, "Is it still being raided?" Like,
Oh my
how
god.
did
We came by Palisade a month ago and they're still getting killed by I'm not going to say the slur.
I'm not gonna do it.
I'm not going to do it. That would get me my 3rd strike, and I really don't want that to happen.
Listen, that would get you strikes for next time.
That
too.
would also, yeah, and those would be
Yeah.
strikes that carry over. And then I would also be canceled from the podcast. It would be like 3 episodes later and Matt just has strikes. And then it's all of a sudden Zach and Meghan going, so because Matt said something racially insensitive, we have decided to... Anyways, that bit
We've
went on for a
decided to
little
go
bit long.
into a different direction.
We decided to go a different direction. So yeah, they kept this act up for 3 years, and then it kind of fell by the wayside. But they were like staging gunfights and kidnappings and robbings and all this other shit.
Damn, they must have been really married to the train schedule.
Huh?
They must have been really married to the train schedule. Like, they just knew it.
Yeah. Well, they had nothing else to do. So essentially,
I guess,
like,
you're right.
the townspeople did this because they were bored. And then, like, it was also something for, I guess, train folk to, like, perk them up a little bit. Like, I just think it's kind of funny that an entire town got together and they were just like, hey, you know what I could do with our time?
Hey, and then someone was just like, yeah, I have like washing to do, and they're just like,
Yeah. After the afternoon train goes by, Edith.
Yeah, dude, Edith, shut up, okay?
Edith,
if you don't,
shut your fucking mouth.
if you're gonna be a negative Nancy, you're not allowed to take part in our fake raid anymore.
But what I think is really interesting is the fact that, like, when I was doing research about this, it was like Palisade was so free of crime that it didn't even really have a sheriff.
Oh,
and
wow.
they had to make a sheriff for the purposes of these acts, as opposed to for the purposes of actual crime. So it was just like, yeah,
So
we're
they
going to
paid
appoint Daryl sheriff because,
So they paid an actor. They paid someone to act as sheriff.
You're a paid actor.
You're a
as
paid
sheriff.
actor. And Daryl's just like, I told my mom I would make it in show
I told
biz."
my mom I'd make it. Let's
I
be
told
honest,
my mom I would make it
was
out west.
1869. Nice. And
Nice.
The British probably hadn't gone all the way out of the southern accent yet. So it would just be some weird amalgamation of the two.
Yeah.
But
Sometimes
that's-
I think about American accents and what they were like at the beginning of, the 1900s or even the middle of the 1800s, and I'm like, man, they would not have sounded anything like us at all.
No.
Even people up in Massachusetts.
What's really interesting is that a lot of people, or I've heard, that apparently the English accent used to sound a lot like the American accent. And that
Oh, yeah.
because, like, the English then wanted a way to differentiate themselves from us, they changed the way they sounded. Which,
Fucking
like,
yeah.
I'd really, if I could go back in time and fucking look into it, that would be so cool to see. Because a lot of people say that Shakespeare sounds better in an American accent than it does in a British accent.
Yeah.
Oh, does it really?
It does.
Oh, yeah. I've actually heard that.
And I think, like, it was because, it was
He
supposed
sounded
to be
just like us.
Yeah, he sounded just like us. But that was my story, and I'm sticking to it, or as close to it as I can without getting shot from the train.
I love that though,
That's
because
really
like
good.
it's almost the equivalent of like an unsuspecting medieval times that just runs through your area.
Yeah, right.
It's like, oh,
Yeah.
I was just going to. It's like if you went to medieval
It would
times,
be like if medieval times was drive-through. Like if you
Yeah.
could just drive through a medieval times.
like it's to me, it's like if you went to medieval times but you weren't told that there was a show, you were just eating, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden some knight runs up. Oh, tally ho! Like that.
Yeah, right.
Or
you're like, oh shit.
it's like the old west version of a flash mob,
Yeah, flash mob.
which is
It's like everyone's just waiting by the train, and then all of a sudden the train goes by and they kick into action.
yeah.
Well, so in my research too, they said that Palisade, Nevada was essentially the first. They called it an amusement park, but I'm more like there weren't rides. So I don't think it's like an amusement park, but it is more like a theme park
Yeah.
in my approximation, where you're on the lazy train, or you're on fucking It's a Small World, and you're just seeing slice of life shit. But they think that this was the origin of a lot of the like Wild West stories,
Yeah.
because it was just
It was so over the top that like
it was over the top. Yeah, they went out and they performed these like, oh my god, it's a bank robber. Or like, oh my god, we're getting attacked by Native Americans for the 10th time this week.
The 10th time this week.
And it's
Yeah.
one of those things where, like, because people then stopped wherever they stopped beyond Palisade, Nevada, and they started telling these stories of, like, how crazy the West is, people were like, oh, it's the Wild West. Not to say that robberies and, Native American raids and gunfights in the streets didn't happen, because obviously the OK Corral.
yeah.
Yeah,
and
but
all
like
this
it
other stuff,
probably didn't happen as much as people think, right? Because like what we know, or at least what I know about the Wild West, is like it's lawless.
Yeah.
Right.
But the thing about the Wild West is it was marketed as lawless, but it was not as lawless as
Certainly wasn't as lawless as Palisade, Nevada made it seem.
or even like as much as like all the dime books made it seem. Like,
Right.
The thing about the OK Corral was it was so big because it was so out of place.
Yeah. So I think it's really kind of interesting. I was just browsing through the internet earlier today, and I was like, oh shit, we could talk about the fact that the Wild West was a completely manufactured
Yeah.
It wasn't as wild as what we once thought.
Well, so it's one of those things where like the dime novels that I talked about is sort of the approximation of like a sci-fi book today.
Yeah.
It's like something completely unknown. And so people are like writing about, oh, what could be happening in these lands that are like nothing's known about. And then when people are, I mean, it's like driving through, Utah and seeing nothing for hours.
Yeah.
It's just like these people are on a train and they're like, it's nothing. It's more nothing. I've woken up and there's more nothing.
It's
And
just
like-
desert.
Yeah, it's just desert forever. So the people of Palisade were like, We live in the nothing, so let's make something
Let's
of it.
spice things up.
Let's spice it up. So anyways, that's my story.
I love it. We do have a couple minutes left,
We did.
and I want to ask.
We can dingus around.
Well, I was going to say, do you want to hear 2 of my honorable mentions that I didn't put in? Just brief aside.
I mean, I guess it can't hurt.
All right. 1892. Frank E. Young came up with an invention that was used to help cure hemorrhoids. At least that's what it said on the package. It was a butt plug. And on the instructions on the inside, it very salaciously said, for hemorrhoids, in quotation marks, but also stick it up your butt for fun.
I like the quote. I like the parentheses. They're like, but also.
Yeah.
Also.
It like that stuck around for about 40 years until in 1938 the FDA banned it for false advertising.
Oh, because it wasn't actually for hemorrhoids.
It was for fun. Yes.
It was just for backdoor fun.
Okay, but like, listen, they told you. They did.
You. They at least warned
They
you.
at least warn you.
They told you. All right. Who can say if it doesn't really help hemorrhoids?
Yeah, maybe it
we
does.
We don't know. All right.
Something up your butt, good for your hemorrhoids.
Good for your hemorrhoids.
Maybe.
I'm not a doctor.
We're not doctors.
Neither was Frankie West.
My second honorable mention is just the like small history of penis enlargement.
The small
Yes.
history.
Yeah,
The
so-
condensed history.
Basically, like a long time ago, they were like, "Yeah, just rub wasp stingers on your junk because that'll engorge it."
No, don't
Do that.
That sounds bad.
That's a bad idea.
I'm not a
guys-
doctor.
Not a doctor,
Guys
but I can tell you
still
that's
do
bad.
that.
I know.
So there's a lot of people that, well, so it's not so much, they don't rub like wasp stingers on their crotch. They get bees to like actively sting their penises because it causes swelling.
Don't do it. It's a bad
I
idea.
And
I
thus
don't
makes the
know,
penis.
dude.
What a great way to find out that you could, like, that you're allergic to bees, right? You catch
Oh,
one and it
God.
stings your penis,
That's
and
the-
for a while you have like a massive, and then you die of anaphylactic
I would say
shock.
that's the worst. That is the worst autoerotic asphyxiation that I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
So, do you guys want to know a fun fact about anaphylaxia?
Sure.
Yeah.
Apparently so it's not always like your throat closes up. Sometimes it's the overwhelming sense of dread.
Oh, jeez. So I might not
Like,
die. I'll just go into absolute
I'll just feel
existential
like I'm dying.
dread.
Yeah, so like I thought that was really interesting where like a common symptom of it is you just think you're gonna die
You know what?
from dread.
That whole thing reminds me that whilst I was browsing the internet the other day, there was a whole section of comments that was like, hey, you guys remember when your parents would make you drink orange juice and then it would make your face all sweaty and hot and it would feel like you couldn't breathe? And then the comment that followed it up was like, turns out I have an allergy to citric.
Turns out that I was allergic to that shit the whole time. We're really off the tracks, but I saw this other thing online where it was like, hey, this generation will never understand their parents forcing them to drink milk because Big Milk told them that if we didn't drink it, then we'd be goo people with no bones.
With no bones.
Jeez.
Ladies and gentlemen, the members of the podcast went on for a good 30 minutes talking about things that they had found on the internet that made them giggle and laugh. It was after 30 minutes of recording the podcast beyond this point they decided to take time and look at the fact that they had been recording for an extra 30 minutes. And they came back for Matt to say this. Wow, we've been talking for like 30 minutes about shit that we found on the internet. This is bonkers.
Yeah.
We should probably
there's
wrap this up.
Probably.
It's really big. The internet's so large and weighs 63 grams or something that we said.
I think it was a little
Damn.
bit lighter than that.
that
but,
internet thick.
Anyways,
Yeah, dude.
we
so
have
big.
brought ourselves to the end of the podcast here, folks. So I will sign us off with my typical question: What the fuck, history?
If you like what you hear from the Triumvirate Productions and What the Fuck History, we encourage you to tell a friend. We don't pay for any ads, so the best way to get us out there is to talk to other people about us. You can find us on Facebook at the Triumvirate Productions, on Twitter at triumvirate_pod, and on Instagram at the_triumvirate_productions.